That's great. Thank you all so much for your patience between our switchovers. But I'm now going to hand you over to Adrian Byne, who is going to talk to you about Byne Home Group.
Thank you, everybody. Really glad to be here today. My name's Adrian Byne. I'm one of the directors of the Byne Home Group, a business that started with my father just over 32 years ago. And we are all about plants and greenery. We bring interiors to life using plants and greenery. This is me when I was 2, already in love with plants, and I think really that sort of early curiosity has developed into a lifelong mission to bring the benefits of plants to as many people as possible. Plants is obviously a very sustainable product. It's probably one of the best products for the planet and for people too. So it's really great being here today, and you know what we've seen today with the displays and so on, and the work you've been doing. Fantastic job. Well done, everybody. Real privilege to be here. Now, I don't know if you've ever experienced any kind of stress in your life before. I can't imagine doing a course like you've been doing is totally stress-free. But it's a very interesting fact that over 90% of adults have experienced stress of some form over the last year. It's a massive percentage. And stress can have a very negative effect on your health, on your ability to work, your creativity, your productivity. And what you think about is what would you, if you're feeling stressed or anxious, maybe you're aware of it or you're not, but what would you typically do to help alleviate that? I think you'll find that you'll probably do something connected with nature. Maybe you'll go for a walk in the park, maybe you'll go for out into the countryside, through a forest, beside a loch, climb a mountain, or maybe you just sit in front of the fire with a good book. But you'll probably do something connected with nature to help you feel relaxed and to help you with that. As humans, we have this inbuilt connection with nature. It's part of who we are, it's how we're made. We actually have this inbuilt connection with nature. That's really why that we seek out this contact with nature when we're feeling stressed and anxious and so on. So there's a term that's been used, you've probably come across it, it's been used a lot more recently, called biophilia. And really that is to do with the fact that as humans we have this connection with nature. It comes from the Greek word bio, which means life, and phileo, which means love. It's a love of life. It's to do with the fact that we as humans, we need to have that connection with nature. So biophilic design is when we are bringing those elements of nature into the built environment to make the spaces feel right for us as humans. But it's about designing spaces that work for humans, that work for us, that make us feel comfortable and relaxed. And really this is kind of where everything comes together, especially if you're an interior designer. Now, there's many aspects of biophilic design and lots of different elements that contribute to biophilic design. There's a very interesting book called The 14 Patterns of Biophilic Design, which is a really good go-to for help on that if you're looking into it. But some of the sort of key elements that you would typically think about is to do with natural light, daylight, light patterns and shadows and so on. Maybe having a view out the window of nature, of the sea, of something natural. The air quality as well, and the movement, the temperature, and how that feels. And also using natural materials like we've been talking about today. You know, the stone, the timber, all these things where we're bringing a connection with nature. And obviously plants is one element too. And I always like to say, whilst we're a company that provide plant displays, I always like to say that biophilic design is far more than just putting a plant in the corner. But plants are a very key element to biophilic design. They are direct contact with nature. They work well in certain types, work well in an interior environment, and it helps to provide an internal environment that just works for us as humans. So, as a company, we're all about designing planting schemes that work for interiors. We put work into the design, the installation, and we do the ongoing maintenance as well. We take full care of the maintenance because the health of the plants ongoing is absolutely critical to how effective they are. We're based in Falkirk, and an interesting fact about Falkirk is that's the birthplace of a guy called George Forrest, who was one of Scotland's greatest plant hunters, bringing plants from all around the world. Now, as a company, we've also been involved in a lot of research into the benefits of plants, the benefits of biophilic design. This particular one which was being we've used the term reap what you sow in connection with this project, was done with PLP Architects in London. And one of the things that was really interesting was we were actually looking at the value of biophilic design. What does it actually mean in terms of money? And one of the really key things that came out of it was that for every £1 spent on biophilic enhancements, there was a return of £2.70 in terms of employee well-being. Now that's very, very significant in terms of, if you're working as an interior designer, working with property owners and investors, when you can actually show that level of return. Obviously, in an office space, these things are very, very critical. There's a lot of research being done to demonstrate the benefits of bringing in nature and biophilic design. There's an interesting report done, it's the Human Spaces report, where they looked at spaces that had daylight and greenery and so on in the space. And there was a few statistics came out of it, which was very, very fascinating. They said that they got a 15% higher level of well-being. The staff in these spaces were 6% more productive and 15% more creative, just by bringing these elements in, which is very, very significant. In the hospitality industry, again, the research has shown too that these elements of biophilic design has a very, very important factor in bringing value. So one of the reports showed that guests were happy to pay 23% more for rooms that have got biophilic elements. Now that is very, very significant. Obviously, creating a nice environment in a hotel, in a restaurant, or whatever, visitors will stay longer, they'll enjoy the time more, they'll probably spend more, and they'll probably tell other people about it. We did a really interesting project at the Brydeswood Square in Glasgow where we created a room, they called it the Chambre Vert, which was assumed the green bedroom. And we completely transformed a bedroom and created what one guest described as the ultimate night's sleep. In the education sector, it's very, very interesting to see how biophilic design can actually make such a difference to actual student results. The average student, a little statistic here for you, the average student spends over 15,000 hours at school by the time they graduate. Now that's a significant portion of their life. And creating those environments where they can actually concentrate, where they can feel comfortable and relaxed, where they can learn, they can study, and create a positive environment for learning. That has in turn shown an increase in exam results, an increase to do further in education. And again, the same principles apply in the retail environment. So creating the right kind of effect with using biophilic design elements means that shoppers are more relaxed, they'll stay longer, they'll spend more. It's also been shown that they will actually, the products, the perception of products is greater. So in terms of value of being able to justify higher price points, and also enhancing the brands that are selling there. So plants and biophilic design elements are all part of creating sustainable spaces. Many of the major accreditation providers or bodies, they will actually now have planting included within their recommendations and can actually help towards that. So it's no longer, plants aren't any longer just a nice to have, just to make it look nice. On the other hand, they do also look nice. So if you want a space that looks nice, that creates a right type of environment that actually really looks attractive, then plants are a really great way to do that. So I think it's particularly in a workplace, having them visually attractive is very, very key to attracting top talent. Somebody once said that your office design is your competitor's opportunity. So, trying to create that top talent, creating the right environment, these are really key things. And again, the visual aspect in the hospitality sector is also key. Creating that space where people actually have a really memorable experience, where they really feel comfortable and they keep coming back. And of course, if you create the right effect, you've got the whole social media aspect. So creating Instagrammable spaces. So, if there's spaces where people feel proud to share that that's where they are, they want to show off, they want to kind of show, this is where I am today. That type of thing is an incredible footfall driver for hospitality spaces. And it's also a great way for brands to connect. Using nature, brands can connect with the people that are using these spaces. They want to take their photo in front of them. So I think as designers, what I say is you have a responsibility to design spaces that work for people. And I think using nature is a really, really key way that you can actually make a space that really works well for people to use. But I also think alongside the responsibility aspect, you've got a huge opportunity because, putting plants and greenery is fun. It's really, really enjoyable and people always relate to it. They actually really enjoy it and your clients will really buy into it. So creating those spaces that people really enjoy using, again, is a really rewarding experience. And on top of that, it helps you build up your reputation for future work. So I'm Adrian from the Byne Group. We'd like to be the interior designers go-to for planting solutions throughout the UK. We are all about doing beautiful plants for inside or outside. We put them on the floors, we put them on shelves, put them on walls and put them on ceilings. We also have a sustainable, peat-free enviroculture planting system that we use for all our planting. And we provide a full design service, installation service, and full ongoing maintenance. And we do everything in the most creative way possible. What we say is this is where creativity blossoms. So thanks for your time, and all the best.